But away from the conflict of Ukraine, tensions between Iran and Israel are also growing. Instead of fighting each other directly, they're settling scores in different countries. Last week, Israel allegedly struck an Iranian camp in Syria and killed 2 Iranian soldiers. On Sunday, Iran retaliated. It landed 12 missiles on the city of Erbil in Iraq. The targets were what Iran calls spying centers controlled by Israel. Iraq does not agree. It's accusing Iran of violating its sovereignty. It's a very complex story. Our next report tries to break it down for you.
Sunday, the 13th of March. It's the middle of the night in Erbil, the capital of Iraq's Kurdistan region. Suddenly, a barrage of missiles rained down on the city. They land near a sprawling consulate complex owned by the United States of America. The offices of a Kurdish TV channel are also damaged. A total of 12 missiles hit the city. They light up the night skies. The explosions are heard from miles away. The Kurdish police spring into action. They rush to the site immediately, fearing an all-out terror attack. By the time they reach, the attacks stop. All that's left are damaged cars and window panes. Minutes later, the Iranian state media airs this broadcast, claiming all responsibility for the attack.
در پی جنایات اخیر رژیم جعلی صهیونیستی و اعلان قبلی مبنی بر بی‌پاسخ نگذاشتن جنایت‌ها و شرارت‌های این رژیم منحوس، دیشب مرکز راهبردی توطئه و شرارت صهیونیست‌ها مورد هدف موشک‌های قدرتمند و
So who are the attacks aimed at? The United States, the government of Iraq, or the Kurdish rebel movement? None, says Tehran. It claims the targets were 2 strategic centers run by Israel. Why? Apparently to avenge the killing of 2 Iranian soldiers. Last week, 2 members of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps were killed in an alleged Israeli airstrike in Damascus. The IRGC had vowed to make Israel pay for their deaths. The attack on Erbil was aimed at achieving that retribution. Iraq and the United States, however, don't see it that way. They are calling it a serious escalation. Iraq's Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi has called the attack a violation of Iraq's sovereignty. He has urged Tehran not to make Iraq a stage for settling external scores. The United States has echoed these statements. America's National Security Advisor says the attack was unjustified and Iran will be held accountable. How is Iran responding to these warnings? Its foreign minister says Tehran will not ever tolerate Iraq becoming a center for sabotage and conspiracy.
It is not at all acceptable that one of our neighbors that has deep relations with us becomes a center for creating threats against the Islamic Republic. Iran will not tolerate that a center near its borders becomes the center for sabotage, conspiracy, and for sending terrorist groups to Iran.
So what happens next? What consequences will this attack have, besides the fact that it may lead to an Israeli retaliation? This attack also risks the collapse of the Iran nuclear deal. For at least 10 months now, Western diplomats have been negotiating with Tehran to revive the deal. But the Russian invasion of Ukraine complicated their efforts. Moscow is a key negotiator in the talks. It wanted assurances from the West that their sanctions will not affect its ties with Tehran. The West refused to agree, so Russia pulled out of the talks and the negotiations were halted. This was last Friday. Over the weekend, Iran's attack on Erbil, the fact that it rained missiles on a foreign city, could give Western leaders more reason to not revive the talks. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.